Aloha guys, and welcome to another video tutorial with me, Claris. This is part of a new series that I'm doing. As most of you know, I've just recently come back from Maui, Hawaii, and I've been so inspired by everything on that island. Everything was so colorful, so beautiful. Here's some of the paintings I did. And I took my etcher watercolor block with me. And here's what I did really quickly. Went to the beach. There was so much inspiration all around. Obviously the hibiscus. There were these little purple dainty flowers. I'm not quite sure what they were, but they were just divine to paint. I attempted one of the gorgeous ocean views. This is a mishmash of different flowers. Yeah, it was beautiful, and it got me thinking it would be amazing if we could do this as a group. And so I want to know if you guys are interested in doing a retreat of sorts and going somewhere inspirational this way. Let me know. I have a link for a survey below in the description, so please click on that. And I'm looking forward to hearing your comments on that. But in the meantime, let's dig into this first video of part of this new Hawaiian series that I'm doing. It is also a introduction into a more in-depth tropical floral series that I'm going to be doing, and that's going to be on Skillshare. Yes, it's going to be on Skillshare. So stay tuned for more details on that. I have linked the Skillshare link below so you can check that out. But in the meantime, today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be painting the Plumeria, which is the Hawaiian, like when you think of Hawaii, that's the flower you think. And we're going to be doing it in the pink and orange version because that is my favorite. So let's dig right in. I'm going to put this aside and we're going to go with the supplies. I'm going to go over the supplies really quickly. So I'm introducing the Strathmore watercolor cold press paper. It's something I've not quite used before, so I'll also be sort of doing a mini review on this over here because a lot of you have even asked about, is this a good enough paper instead of the Canson XL for beginners practice, that sort of thing. So I'll let you guys know. So we're using this. This is the 9x12. I'm back to using the Mei Liang set of watercolors. And then for brushes, we're using the same brushes that we've been using this whole time since Jan. So here we go. The Princeton Neptune round number 6. I'm keeping the Princeton Velvetouch number 8 handy. And then the Princeton Velvetouch number 4. And of course the Princeton Lauren number 2. I have the angular brush here because I do want to use it for this upcoming series. It really is amazing in terms of loosening up and just getting those beautiful organic shapes. And it's also part of the Loosen Up workshops that I have, part 2, that is coming up. And that's going to be online. All right, so let's get started. So if you didn't know, the Plumeria represents birth and love, spring and new beginnings. And I absolutely love that representation that it embodies. So we're going to be using the following colors for our Plumeria. So I will be using a combination of rose red along with vermilion. Feel free to use a magenta, but like a really watered down version of magenta, or if you've got a more pinky color, quinacridone rose I think would be another one. Yeah, and vermilion. And then for the centers, I'll be using like a burnt brown or Van Dyke's brown. And then for the leaves, we're using Deep Hooker's green with a little bit of the burnt brown or Van Dyke's brown in there. Okay, so let's begin. I'm going to start off with using my number 6, and watch this carefully because I'm going to show you guys how to do this flower once, and then you multiply it on your page and we go from there. Now this texture of the Stratford paper isn't as much as the etcher. It's got a few bumps, but let's see how this goes. So washing down my brush, I'm going to get a little bit of my rose red. And I want to make sure when I do my strokes, it's very loose, holding my brush higher. All those fun things that you would typically do when you're painting loose. And I'll be using my number 4, keeping that handy to get some of that vermilion in right away. So I'm just getting some of that on the brush right now. And here we go. So I'm going to start by doing, so there are 5 petals in total. So we're going to start off by lightly getting a, let's do it right in the middle. And I'm getting more water to kind of really help this become nice and flowy. This seems to be like drying up super quick, or just the absorbing isn't quite as much as the Canson, I would say. I really have to put in tons of water, so I'm really going in and adding a lot of water so that I have ample enough time to finish my 5 petals and then go in with some of the vermilion. Notice this is my typical 5-petal flower, really, to be honest. Again, we're doing it loose, right? So I'm not kind of fixating on shape and such. I'm just making sure we've got a little bit of white space happening so that it doesn't look like one big chunk. We've got some nice organic shapes happening all around our petal. And then here we go. I'm taking some of the vermilion directly from the color cake. Now we've got a little bit of color pooling, water pooling there. So I'm gonna, let's see how this saturates or like blooms into the pink first. So adding it just at the tip so it blooms pretty. And it's helping it move along because we don't have water pooling. I've got pooling happening there. Let's just see what happens if I add this over the area where it is pooling. Okay, so I'm going to do this one and save the best, quote unquote, for last. And let's get more, and I'm going to add it here. And while it is sort of going out, I think it's going to stop around that area, which is totally fine. It works in our favor because we don't want this going all the way to the edge. So that's perfectly okay. Now I like how this looks. It's loose. It's given us some beautiful blends, but I do want to get a little bit of white happening in there too. So I'm washing off my brush, number 4, and I'm going to try and swipe off some color and just dab on my paper towel, because it's nice to have a little bit of like lights and darks within your pink. And you're kind of also giving it loose detail without really going in there and getting detail happening. Beautiful. I love this kind of loose detail where you're kind of using the color to decipher and guide the eye into recognizing what it is. It's satisfying to do because watercolor is so therapeutic that way anyways, but then it's also very, you feel good about yourself, right? Like, I did this. Okay, so real quickly, I'm going to go back, get some of that orange again, and I want to add a second layer before it completely dries off. And this paper is almost dried off. And even though I put a lot of water, I feel like the Canson would have held on to the dampness a bit longer. I don't know who else uses this regularly, but you can weigh in on the comments below and let me know. Okay, so that's that. And there's one more thing I want to do, but before I get on to that, I want to quickly remind you guys, if you like videos like this, guys, please remember to hit that like button and please remember to subscribe. It really does help my channel grow. All right, so last thing we're going to do is add some lines in here. So I'm going to use the back of this brush, and I'm going to, this is not the last thing, this is one of the second last things we're going to do. I'm going to lightly kind of add a couple of lines, kind of going along the shape of the petal. And this also kind of helps us get some nice fine details happening and adding some beautiful texture. Nice. Okay, now I want to add a little bit of a center. We have a huge white space happening there, so I'm going to add some of that burnt brown to the center, and I'm just going to do a couple of dabs really. And if you hit some of the orange and it kind of happens to get into the orange, that's okay. And I'm going to leave it at that. Now we move on to doing the leaves. So the leaves, like I mentioned, we're using that Van Dyke, sorry, no, not Van Dyke. It is the Deep Hooker's Green. So let's get some of that using our number 6. So that's right here. And I'm going to keep the, I'm going to keep the number 2 handy still. So for leaves, we're literally, again, very loose, right? So I'm going to do one leaf happening over here off to the side. So using the tip, pressing down, coming towards the flower, dipping the tip of my brush in water. I'm going to do that for the second time on the other side here. So we've got one, and now I'm going to get, I want to get like another color green. Okay, I'm going rogue a little bit over here. So I'm going to get some of that olive green, and this is some beautiful pooling happening here. So I'm going to do another leaf, sort of touching this area. I needed more color. Okay. I feel like maybe this is because of the paper, but it's not quite giving me that nice bloom of color that I typically would have gotten. So I'm still kind of up in the air about this paper. I feel like it's all right. I prefer the Canson XL over this, I would say. I'm just going to do another leaf on this side. So I really had to submerge my brush in water before adding this down just to get those nice blooms. I do like the dark side and the light side happening once you do that. Getting some of the brown now. Let's go in here and just add a little bit at the tip and at the bottom here, right while it is damp. The reason you want to have this happening while it is damp is so that you can get a nice blend going on with the color. And this is part of the whole wet on wet technique that I've been doing since Jan, or that we sort of focused on in Jan. So if you've missed that and this is kind of making you go, what? I don't know how you do this. Check out those videos. They'll be helpful in terms of getting yourself warmed up to getting the wet on wet down. So just adding some of that brown in here, and then we are done. Then my homework for you is take what you've learned here and do a whole bunch of flowers all over your page, and let's see what you come up with. For the leaves as well, if you want to use the back of your brush to kind of go in and add some veiny details, you can totally do that. I think that would also add something nice. I think you might be able to see it best on the olive green leaf that I did. Can really see the detail there. And that's it, guys. So hope you guys enjoyed this first video, or like an intro video to my Hawaiian series. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to call it Hawaiian series. Let's just see. But the Plumeria, this is the Plumeria. Go on, try it. Stay tuned for next week. We're going to do another video, and then stay tuned for more details on how on more intricate tropical flowers. I'll be going in more detail, and that's going to be on Skillshare. All right, thanks guys for watching, and don't forget to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. And if you do end up doing this and covering your page especially, tag me on Instagram or on Facebook. I would love to see what you do. And last but not least, if you are interested on traveling and painting with me, please take the survey below. Let me know where you want to go. All right, guys. Thank you. Bye.